Hi everyone. Today I'm going to analyze an interesting new app, uh, and it's ASO. The app I'm going to analyze today is called Rise. It's a sleep tracking app, and the way I discovered it is just from the top charts. I was just looking at some of the top free charts on iTunes, and I saw that this app looked a bit interesting. I mean, I've heard most of these names and analyzed them in some form or the other, but this is a new one that I haven't seen all up here all that often. So yeah, I was just curious to find out what exactly this app does, and I'm going to show you how I would analyze it in GrowASO actually. So going back to GrowASO, I will first input this listing here, and then I'll just analyze. And what this will help me do is it will help me get a better sense of their popularity. So what I see here is that it was released in 2019. It was last updated fairly recently, just 5 days ago, and it has around 44,000 downloads per month and an estimated revenue of anywhere between 140,000 to $230,000 per month. Now note that these numbers are for now only for the US that's being estimated. So it's obvious that the global revenue and the global download base would be much more significant, but this kind of gives you an idea of where this app's popularity stands. In terms of the listing, they have a very small subtitle, fairly long app description, and the screenshots look quite clean and nice. I think, I mean, this is a popular app, and I'm pretty sure that they've spent, time to experiment with them, or at least I hope so. I would also be curious to find out what the user reviews are saying for this app. So let's just get a little bit of a summary for that. Okay. Um, some interesting pieces of feedback here. So users are complaining about high subscription costs and payment issues, inaccurate sleep tracking and data issues, which is common in the healthcare space, poor user experience and design flaws, customer service and support, lack of transparency and misleading practices. Okay, that's interesting. Battery drain and app deletion. People were not even able to delete the app. So some interesting pieces of feedback here that we discovered. But the meat of this analysis would actually be on the ASO front. So let me just put in the app on the ASO listing audit tool, because I want to get a breakdown of what exactly is the room to grow for Rise. Let's choose the country and the language as English. Let's go for the US and let's see what it says. Okay, so the way ASO audit works, by the way, is that it analyzes a lot of different factors and it analyzes many different keywords. So you don't see the score straight away. The score for all of these is fairly quick because these are relatively straightforward to understand, but the keyword scores are calculated manually one by one, their rankings and the scoring. So the final score updates at the end of it, but that doesn't matter. We can get started with at least this portion. So let's look at everything. The first thing is, of course, that the keyword limit is not being optimized here in the title. So as you know that there are 30 characters limit on iOS. Rise is using only 19 characters, so there's definitely some gap. Rise does have a brand name, which GrowASO has not picked up, because the way this check is actually done is if it's a word in the English language, it's most likely not a brand name. But if it's not a word in the English language, it's something like made up, then it's likely a brand name. So this mostly works, but in some cases, like you see for Rise, it didn't work. But the interesting thing is, if as we keep seeing and you going and keep going down, most of these are yellow. So these two are yellow. These look okay. The description is fine. Now when we start seeing the keyword rankings, we see that there are multiple keywords which are actually part of their the key store listing items or subtitle and the title, but they're not really ranking well for them. So Rise and Sleep are okay because they rank fairly high for them. I think top 10 is fair. Circadian, Energy, where is Energy? Energy is not in these two, but Energy is probably in their description then. Rhythm, Tracker, Access Data. So while GrowASO does this, let's look at some of the other features that are generally important for ASO. One of the most important things is, of course, the signals that you send to the App Store, and that comprises of your product quality. That's also why, in the previous page, I was looking at the user reviews and the summary of the negative reviews that the app got. The app rating is quite fairly good. 4.65 is really good. They also have 30,500 ratings, so I don't think that that's really a concern from an ASO perspective. But they definitely should still look into the product issues, especially the user complaints about payment. If there are complaints about misleading payments and deceptive practices, that is not just risky in terms of ASO and penalization by the algorithm, but it risks being an existence on the App Store itself. So it doesn't really matter. The visibility doesn't even matter if your app is it gets pulled down completely. So that's one thing. The second thing is localizations. So far, in GrowASO, I haven't put a very strong localization threshold, but for an app that is as popular as Rise is, I would really expect them to be doing better on this front, because I mean there are like more than 50 languages on the iTunes App Store that apps can choose to input, but they have currently only 7. This is obviously an untapped opportunity. That's the way I look at it. Interestingly, they're only really covering the European and the Western markets. I think there's one Japanese which is being covered, but basically they're leaving out the entire Asia, Africa, South America. There's so many, countries and continents that they're missing out. So I think that's going to be the second thing that I think is a big gap in their listing. Apart from just the title and the subtitle, localizations is it's a huge gap. In terms of the recency of their update and their legacy score, they're pretty good. Like we also saw in the previous app intelligence page, they're a popular app. They've been in the app store for a long time. They've been updating the listing fairly recently, so that serves them well. And lastly, coming to the description, the full description that we previously saw, they are using this well as well. I think this listing has no issues. The interesting thing, of course, is that for iOS, if you remember, the listing does not, the app description does not directly matter in terms of keyword indexing, but what it does play a part in is when users search on Google directly. Let's say they're just using the Google search engine, not outside the App Store, and they search for, let's say, a sleep tracking app. Then the keywords in your iOS app listing description start holding weight, because Google does index those. So that's going to be something that you should keep in mind. And it also ties in with LLMs, right? The LLMs are considering all the data, right? ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, everyone is scraping every piece of text that they can get their hands on. So you would want to ensure that if you want to maximize your app's visibility by getting recommended in these LLMs, by getting recommended in the Google search, you should have such keywords in your description. And yeah, I think let's see some of the keywords now that a lot of them have been updated. A lot of them are more than 200, but these are single word ones, so kind of fair. Let's look at some of these non-rise sleep related ones. So we have sleep tracker, which is at number 5, which is okay. Sleep person, which is okay, not that really that relevant. Tracking on a morning tracker. So I think the interesting thing here is that there are a few keywords which I do think are relevant to them, but they are missing here, right? If you see, if it, the way I look at it is, for instance, a morning word, right? Morning is fairly common in here, but morning only appears in the subtitle. I think that their ranking, for many of these keywords can be much higher. Tracker morning, morning rise, morning sleep, morning tracker can be higher if they placed it right up here. So that's a gap. Second thing is, we can tell that what else? Circadian, right? Circadian. This is an important keyword. I mean, circadian rhythms are a very, very critical keyword for this particular niche, and if you are missing out on this, you're not you're ranking number 3 for this. Circadian rhythm is not automatically here, but it's not going to be high for that also. I mean, and I can check that. So let me just look at keyword research for a second. Circadian rhythm. Oh shit, I mistyped. It's a typo. Sorry. But let's just see. Circadian rhythm. It should be roughly this, and I don't see it in the top 10. Yeah, so this is the latest list, and yes, it's still not in the top 10. Rise is not here. So point here is that these are keywords that are important. These are keywords that are going to hold importance, and why Rise is missing out on that. Rise is missing out on that, and this has been a short explanation of all the factors that are relevant for ASO, but I really hope that Rise can look into these, title, subtitle. So title, subtitle, localizations, these three. And lastly, the product side, analyzing the subscription issues, analyzing the payment issues.